Meet our brand new protagonist, a one-of-a-kind legend who doesn't waste time smacking trees. Instead, this unstoppable force crushes everything in his way. While most folks are busy binge-watching anime or grinding in games, this absolute unit has fully embraced Master Oogway's wisdom. If there's a hole, there's a goal, and is living it to the max. Right now, our guy is deep in a game, pounding rice cakes with a girl named Huna. But don't underestimate her. She's far from ordinary. After utterly dominating Huna, he somehow convinced her to whip up a feast just for him. That's peak Chad behavior. Now, with all his energy spent, he picks up a spoon and shifts into full mukbang mode, demolishing the meal like his favorite food YouTuber. The food never stood a chance. After effortlessly demolishing the entire feast solo, he turns to Huna with a smirk and casually whispers, asking if she'd like to join him for some GTA 6. Clearly, he's gearing up for another session of their rice cake smashing escapades. The two dive into the game, with our hero gripping his controller for dear life, praying it doesn't self-destruct mid-match. But then, bam, a message from someone's mom pops up, and his confident demeanor takes a hit. Fast forward to the next morning, and it turns out our guy had quite the night, tackling rice cakes on 2 separate difficulty settings. Now, he's up at the crack of dawn, ready to set things right by hitting the gym like a true Chad. Just as things seem to return to normal, he suddenly appears, utterly annihilating a rice bag like he's channeling All Might. The strangest part? He's gone and named the rice bag Elizabeth. Unfortunately for him, this Elizabeth isn't about to transform into the one from 7 Deadly Sins. Instead, the only thing his banana tree plantation is connecting with is a pile of feathers. Turns out, our beloved rice bag enthusiast has officially shattered the 9,000 power level threshold. Word on the street is that he's been honing his gaming reflexes on pillows for nearly 10,000 rounds. So yeah, you could say he's a master gamer with zero shame. Maybe that's why he's such an absolute Chad, and not because of that sword he's been lugging around. But then, during his legendary 1001st attempt, disaster strikes. His trusty, rice bag-shaped pillow finally taps out, probably crushed under the sheer weight of his past exploits. Maybe this was Elizabeth's grand escape plan all along. At this point, I thought our guy might break down in despair, but nope. Instead, he starts monologuing to the rice as if it just scaled the peak of Mount Everest. But Elizabeth has had enough. She calls in backup, Rice Cotton, since Truck-chan was off on another mission. The result? Our boy doesn't slip on a bar of soap, but on a handful of stray rice grains. And in that moment, he has a revelation: never, ever disrespect rice. But it's too late. Gravity wins, and he crashes straight to the ground. Against all odds, he wakes up, seemingly unharmed. But there's something off. A strange glow flickers behind him. He turns around, only to find, yep, you guessed it, a full-blown anime portal. And as any self-respecting protagonist knows, if a mysterious portal appears, you have to step in. There's just one catch. A warning echoes in the air. This is a gateway to another world. Once you enter, there's no turning back. But as the words repeat, a chill runs down his spine. The voice sounds exactly like his own. But just when things were getting interesting, our bro flips the script. Instead of stepping into the mysterious portal, he shrugs it off and decides to check Tinder instead. After all, he still has real targets to take down today. A sigh of relief escapes him as he confirms he's still on Earth, with a fresh lineup of matches waiting for his attention. Everything seems normal, until he exits the app and spots a chilling message from Huna. Her warning is brief but urgent. Don't go home. Hide immediately, or else you'll miss Drake's concert. Before he can even process what that means, a deep voice booms from outside his front door. And just like that, we learn our guy's real name, Taeyong. The pounding on the door grows louder, the voice more aggressive, but Taeyong assumes it's just some die-hard K-pop fan who mistook him for Big Bang's very own Taeyong. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he moves to check things out. But just as his fingers brush the doorknob, wham! An axe rips through the door, missing his head by mere inches and nearly giving him the freshest bowl cut of his life. On the other side of the splintered wood stands a furious older man, looking like a battle-hardened version of the Avatar. His eyes blaze with rage as he growls out his identity, Huna's husband. And he's just learned about all of Taeyong's recent activities. Honestly, I think the real Chad here is this Avatar lookalike. No hesitation, no nonsense, just pure, unfiltered rage and a readiness to send his enemies straight to the afterlife with some old-school bloodbending techniques. Gotta respect the commitment to be the way. Our bro doesn't even flinch while chasing down an unarmored dude. You can tell he's a man of principle, no matter what. But now that Taeyong has been exposed for spending way too much time playing intergalactic rice cake on other people's save files, he realizes there's only one way out: the portal. Time is running out as the makeshift barricades he set up are getting shredded by the Avatar's absurd skill set. At this rate, it's a countdown to either diving into the unknown or meeting a very painful end. Just when things couldn't get worse, the Avatar pauses mid-rampage to demand one crucial detail: exactly how many times Taeyong has raided Huna's rice cake. Honestly, I wouldn't have asked. But plot twist, Taeyong is also dating the Avatar's daughter. Trying to save himself, Taeyong attempts the classic popo excuse, but it only makes things worse. The Avatar's fury skyrockets as he unleashes a monstrous airbending shockwave, shaking the entire room. Taeyong barely has time to process his impending doom before the final layer of his defenses begins to crack. One more hit, and the Avatar will break through. Now, Taeyong has two choices. 1. Leap into the mysterious portal and risk whatever insanity lies beyond. 2. Stay behind, go out in a blaze of glory, and make one last stand inside Elizabeth, the rice bag. It's a tough call, especially for a guy who's the biggest sassy baka of all time. In the end, Taeyong decides to embrace his legacy and give Elizabeth one final moment of appreciation. But just as he prepares to make his last stand, something shifts. The portal seems to react, pulling him in with an unseen force. And at that exact moment, the last door obliterates, revealing the Avatar, now channeling full-blown firebending rage, charging in like the Grim Reaper himself. The Reaper of Souls halts, locking eyes with Taeyong in an intense stare down. His voice booms with a single demand: reveal your banana tree at once so I may cut it down. But in a twist worthy of the Mighty Ducks, the tables flip yet again. Taeyong, ever the mad lad, pulls the ultimate power move. He strides right up to the Avatar and, without a shred of fear, boldly proclaims that his wife and daughter had the best rice cake of all time, calling it so tight and rad. For a brief, fleeting moment, it looks like Taeyong might actually talk his way out of this disaster. But then, nope. Panic takes over, and he yeets himself straight into the portal, leaving the Avatar behind in a fury so intense it could vaporize mountains. The moment he lands, Taeyong finds himself inside a colossal castle, still armorless, still completely lost. As he stumbles through the grand halls, the sound of approaching voices sends him into full panic mode. Thinking fast, he ducks into the shadows, trying to make sense of his situation. That's when he hears something strange. The guards, casually chatting nearby, are debating whether a torch has run out of mana. Magic. Magic exists in this world. Taeyong's mind races, barely able to process this revelation. But before he can dwell on it, a soft rustling catches his attention from a nearby room. Peering inside, he spots someone tossing and turning in bed. Curious but cautious, he remains hidden and listens as the guards continue talking. They're raving about someone named Verdia, who apparently sleeps nearby. Taeyong, putting 2 and 2 together and somehow getting 3, jumps to the worst possible conclusion. Verdia is the man these guards are blushing over. A cold chill runs down his spine as his mind spirals into panic. His worst nightmare plays out before him. He's been teleported to a world without women. His heart nearly stops. But just as despair sets in, a familiar scent drifts through the air, one he's always associated with: women. His heart reboots instantly. Hope surges through him, and fueled by his love for Detective Pikachu, Taeyong sets out to investigate. His confidence in his banana tree plantation swiftly returns to king-sized glory. Finally, his eyes land on a breathtaking girl. His first thought? That must be Verdia. Taeyong, ever the curious hunter, decides to inspect Verdia even more closely, making sure she's not hiding any swords where he least expects them. But instead of finding weapons, he's left marveling at the sight of Verdia in her prime. An absolute S-tier woman who could even give his own little rookie a run for her money. Despite the stunning sight, Taeyong remembers there's another dude in the room, presumably the king, and wonders why the two are using separate beds if he's the ruler. Unable to resist, Taeyong ventures closer to Verdia, even though he knows this could very well send him 6 feet under if the king wakes up. Seizing the prime opportunity in front of him, he transforms into his Frenchman alter ego, ready to devour the feast before him. And so, our MC begins his siege on the sleeping Verdia, battering her gates with a force they've never experienced before. But Taeyong grows sad when Verdia doesn't wake up from his entry, despite his efforts. An hour later, Taeyong is running at 90% capacity, yet neither Verdia nor the king has so much as stirred. However, even in her sleep, Verdia instinctively reacts to his relentless attack. Eventually, her internal system reboots and she mumbles, wondering why her husband is being unusually attentive today. A few moments later, Verdia fully regains consciousness, but rather than being startled, she appears to be enjoying the situation. She warns Taeyong to hit the brakes, as getting caught wouldn't just mean losing his trio, it would also cost him his head. But, as expected, Taeyong had no intention of calling off the siege. He pressed on until dawn, miraculously avoiding detection as the king remained sound asleep. Clearly, very heavy sleeper. However, the relentless battle abruptly halts when the sound of shattering glass echoes through the room, scattering shards like a scene straight out of Splatoon 2. A maid, arriving to serve the royal breakfast, has unwittingly walked in on the not-so-ceremonial cake-smashing session. At this point, Taeyong realizes he's completely doomed in more ways than one. But if he's going down, at least he's making it a grand exit in this unfamiliar world.